How do you break the trauma bond? How do you actually break free from the mindset, from the thought process, from the rumination, from the things that keep pulling you back to a toxic person over and over and over again? This is a popular question that a lot of people ask, and a lot of people are wondering, how do I actually get free from this? How do I actually break the trauma bond so I can be free from the toxic partner that I'm with? Because even though I might be away from him, even for a period of time, he still pulls me back in. He still sucks me back in. He still hoovers me back into a toxic relationship. How do I actually get free? We started working with hundreds of different clients over the past couple of years of trying to understand the nuances, trying to understand the pieces. I understood it from the narcissistic perspective, but then how do we actually bring that to the table to help you get free, to ultimately help you change your mindset? And we started building this baseline process of walking through the freedom formula, of understanding how we can actually break it down piece by piece, of diving into your emotions, your feelings, the story you're telling yourself, the facts of the situation, and then ultimately get to the place of replacing it with the new story. This is the concept and the idea that we built the challenge on to help people break free. Well, one of the things that helps people break free and has helped me break free from the mindsets, from the limiting beliefs over the period of years has been this concept of stacking. Now, whenever I mention stacking, people are like, what is it? What does it look like? Where can I find it? And all those things, and we'll talk about that today. What stacking is a process of going through a back and forth, almost conversational style in an app that we use that actually helps you get to the place of being able to rewire the story that you believe. And I'm going to break it down today in 4 different points that I want you to understand of how we go through this process. Now, it looks slightly different when we're dealing into the software or you're texting back and forth with it, but I'm going to give you the overarching overview of it and how it actually breaks down. So stacking comes down into 4 different things, okay? And so you understand really quick, those 4 things are stop, submit, struggle, and strike, okay? 4 things: stop, submit, struggle, and strike. So what does that actually mean? First step is to stop. And this is where we take a pause. This is where you've been going through life thinking that life is working or not working in a certain frame of reference. So when I talk about stop, I just want you to stop for a second and be like, wait a second, my current frame of reality might not be what's actually real. It might not be actually true. You see, you are stuck in a frame of reality, in a certain viewpoint of the world, your perspective, the stories you tell yourself, the laws that have been imposed upon you by other people, the rules and the regulations that you grew up with or had placed upon you inside of the relationship puts you in this box, puts you in this prison, puts you in, this is the only viewpoint that I can see out in the world. And as we see this, people have to get to a place where they first stop and they wake up to this aspect of like, hey, something might not be 100% true in your life right now. The easy thing is that everybody watching this video, it's 100% true. There's something right now in your life and your viewpoint that is not true. But the hard part is you might not even know that because you haven't stopped long enough to be able to say, wait a second, something here might not actually be 100% true. Now, if you're in a toxic relationship, you're like, yeah, totally get that, because there's been a lot of things that haven't been true. Now, the hard part is still there's a lot of things that might not be true that you might be thinking, such as the stories that you tell yourself, your frame of reference about that other person. Well, if I would have done better, he wouldn't have left me. He left me because he didn't care about me. He left me because of all these things. And you start telling yourself a lot of different stories. If I was good enough, he would have still been here. If I would have given him more sex, then he wouldn't have cheated on me. If I would have loved him better, then this wouldn't have happened. And you start telling yourself stories. Because in your current frame of reality, in your current existence, those seem to be the most logical answers, the most logical thought process because of what's happened in the relationship. So the first thing I want you to do is just stop. Be like, wait a second, what I'm actually thinking, what I'm actually feeling might not be real. The second step in this process is called submit. And when we talk about submit, we're talking submitting to the facts. This is saying, wait, I understand that I currently live in a current reality, in a frame of life. I get that, okay? Now I need to actually take this and submit to what are the actual facts that are happening in my life on a day-to-day basis. What are the facts about the relationship? How is he demonstrating? What is he showing? How is he showing up or not showing up? How is this relationship working for us and helping me grow, change, and develop? Or how is it not working in the belittling and the yelling and the screaming and putting me down? So it's understanding. We have to actually submit to the facts of the situation. If you don't, you'll continue to live in a false reality, in fantasy land. Because you move into a place where you're like, I don't want to submit to these facts. This is the part that we talk about with radical acceptance. You have to get radically accepting of the truth of the reality of what's actually happening in your life. If you don't, you will continue to stay stuck. You will continue to stay manipulated over and over and over again. So we have to stop and submit to the facts of the situation. Then think of it this way. You take all of your facts and put them on one side. You take all of your other thoughts and your stories and you put them on the other side. And you take both of those and you sit down. And the third aspect is you struggle. You fight with it. That's normal. It's normal when we try to question our own reality, when we try to question what has been imposed upon you in the toxic relationship, for it to be a struggle. This is why when we help people rewire the story that they believe, they're like, it doesn't feel real. And I'm like, I get it. But look at where your story comes from. It is based on facts. They're like, I know, it just doesn't feel right. I'm like, I get it. It's not going to feel right beginning of time because you haven't done this before. You haven't walked through this process. So we move into struggle of dealing with, what do I actually believe in? Do I believe the stories that have been told to me for so long? Do I believe the stories that I've been telling myself so long? Or do I believe the facts? Do I believe the stories that I'm saying he just has struggle with communication? Or do I believe the facts of like, no, it has been abusive. And every time we've worked on communication, we're back in the same exact spot because he won't be willing to actually listen and change his behavior. The facts. But you have to sit down. You have to struggle with that. The fourth aspect that I mentioned is just a fancy word for action, but we call it strike. Stop, submit, struggle, and strike. Strike means we need to take action. For us, a lot of times it's helping you put in the news story into your life of understanding, hey, if I work on this news story, it will actually help me towards the direction that I want to live. It will help me live in the direction that I want to go in this relationship, not in this relationship, regardless of relationships. It helps me live as the person I'm called to be. But we can't do that if we're still believing stuff that's not based on facts. If we're still believing our version of the truth or his version of the truth, whatever it might be, if you're not believing the facts of the situation, then every action you take after that will have the wrong focus. It'll be completely in the wrong direction because you're not willing to address the facts. Now, this is the hard part that a lot of narcissists and a lot of survivors are very similar on. And that is to deal with the topic of truth in dealing with the facts. You see, a lot of people do not want to deal with the facts of the situation. So as a result, they run from it. A narcissist runs from the facts of the situation because they are revealing. They show them vulnerably. They show them exposed to the world of being the liars and the cheaters that they are. I speak that way because that's who I've been. So I need you to understand that they run away from it. I ran away from it for years. The hard part is getting into the world of coaching and helping other people. You start to notice that survivors run from the facts as well because it's too painful. Because what does that mean about me? What is wrong with me? Maybe there's something with my worth. So they want to run from the actual facts of the situation. And it perpetuates in both aspects, people that do not get real and people that do not get healing because they're unwilling to deal with the facts. They're unwilling to deal with their current reality. And as a result, they continue going down the same road over and over and over again. So, when you walk through this concept, when you walk through these ideas and these principles inside this framework, I want you to think to first stop about the reality that you're currently in. Be like, wait a second, let me just engage the thought that what I'm thinking right now might not be 100% accurate. What I'm experiencing right now might not be 100% accurate. Then we have to actually submit to the facts. What are the facts? What has been demonstrated in the relationship? What has been demonstrated in your life? What is working or not working? In your body, being, balance, and business. What does this actually look like? How do you start moving forward from this? Then you have to struggle with it of like, here's the things that are here. Here's the actual reality. I don't like this. I would rather live over here. I'd rather believe this version of reality. I'd rather believe this version of myself, of the lies that I've told myself, of the stories I believe, of the lies that are getting placed upon me. I'd rather believe that because it feels easier. But in reality, it doesn't give you the freedom that you want or the freedom that you deserve. And so you stay stuck in a relationship for a much longer period of time than if you would understand. If we start with the facts and we work through how you feel about them, we help you change the focus that you have to produce the results that you're actually looking for. And this is where we bring in the action, the strike, so you can start implementing the things you need to implement to become the person that you're called to be. This is one of the hardest things for people, is dealing with the stories that they have in their head, or sometimes even finding the stories that they have in their head, because it's hidden, it's sedated, they've been lied to, they've been pushed down, they've been belittled for such a long period of time. If you're at the place where you feel this way and where you're struggling with this, please reach out for help. We dive into this way more in depth, and you get the stacking tool every single day when you join us. If you want to interact with me one-on-one, you can go to rawmotivations.com. You can grab a time there. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, rate, review, share this with someone that might be impacting their reality today to help them break free and help them ultimately move to be the person that they're called to be.